The wind whispers secrets through the tall grasses, secrets of a life I never imagined I'd be living. The air here, in this quiet corner of the world, carries a different kind of weight. It's a weight of unspoken words, of shadows that stretch long in the evening light, of a past that clings like a persistent vine. I know you understand that feeling, the one where the world seems to tilt on its axis, where the very ground beneath your feet feels uncertain. Perhaps you, like me, have found yourself in a place where hope feels distant, where the future is shrouded in a mist of what-ifs and what could have bins. This is a story of a place like that, a place called solitude. It's a story about a man named Lucas, a man who, like many of us, carries the imprint of loss. A man whose heart has been weathered by the storms of life. He lives on a remote farm, far from the bustling world, a world he seems to have abandoned. He's a man marked by a profound loneliness, a loneliness that has become a constant companion. He exists in a world of his own making, a world of routine and quietude. He is haunted, I suspect, by the echoes of decisions made, of paths not taken, of a path that refuses to remain buried. And then there's Clara. She is young, her spirit still fragile, her eyes holding a depth of experience that belies her years. She arrives at this farm, not by choice but by circumstance, a circumstance born of hardship and desperation. She carries with her the weight of betrayal, the sting of abandonment, the fear of an uncertain future. Imagine the terror, the feeling of being adrift in a sea of the unknown, with no shore in sight. That's where Clara finds herself. There, lives are intertwined, not by choice, but by the cruel hand of fate, it seems. Their connection is forged in the crucible of circumstance, a relationship that begins in a shadow of control and captivity. Yet, within this seemingly impossible situation, something unexpected begins to bloom, a flicker of something unseen, a potential for transformation. This is a story of two souls, wounded and vulnerable, bound together by the threads of circumstance, on a journey to discover the true meaning of connection, resilience, and, ultimately, love. This is where we begin. The weight of unspoken trauma often manifests in ways we don't immediately recognize. It can be the clenched jaw, the averted gaze, the persistent feeling of unease that settles deep within the bones. For Lucas, this weight is a heavy cloak, a constant reminder of past hurts. This isn't merely about the absence of joy, it's the insidious presence of sorrow, a companion that has shaped his every action, every decision. Furthermore, consider how this emotional burden influences his interactions with Clara. His initial actions, born out of a place of control and a distorted understanding of connection, are a reflection of his own internal landscape. His actions aren't necessarily malicious but are, instead, a product of a life lived in isolation, devoid of genuine emotional exchange. Building on this, his inability to express his feelings, to truly see Clara beyond her circumstance, stems from his own inability to confront his own internal demons. Conversely, Clara's experience offers a stark contrast. She arrives at the farm carrying the scars of her past, but within her, a resilience begins to emerge. She's not defined by her circumstances, she is a survivor. Another crucial layer is the way her presence slowly chips away at Lucas's defenses. Her very existence forces him to confront the truth of his isolation, to acknowledge the emptiness that has long consumed him. Consequently, the farm becomes a crucible, a space where two deeply wounded individuals begin to navigate the treacherous terrain of their shared reality. Imagine it as a fragile ecosystem where the slightest disturbance can upset the delicate balance. Their interaction is not simply a transaction, it's a complex interplay of fear, hope, and the nascent stirrings of something akin to trust. The silence between them becomes a language of its own, a tapestry woven with unspoken needs and unspoken fears. Now, consider how this applies when you face a difficult relationship. Are you, like Lucas, holding on to past hurts that are shaping your present? Do you perhaps find yourself building walls instead of bridges? Are you, like Clara, struggling to find your voice, to assert your needs in the face of adversity? This story is a mirror, reflecting the potential for healing and transformation that resides within all of us, even in the darkest of circumstances. It underscores a profound truth that even in the face of profound pain, the human spirit possesses an extraordinary capacity for growth, for connection, and for the possibility of a brighter future. Delving deeper into the emotional landscape of these two characters, it becomes imperative to consider the impact of their individual attachment styles. Lucas, shaped by his seclusion, may exhibit an avoidant attachment style. This could manifest as a reluctance to engage emotionally, a tendency to withdraw when faced with vulnerability, and a strong preference for self-reliance. He may have learned, through past experiences, that closeness equals pain, and thus, he constructs barriers to protect himself. Building on this, his actions, which initially appear controlling, could be interpreted as a misguided attempt to maintain a sense of order and safety in his own fractured world. Clara, conversely, might display an anxious attachment style. Her past trauma, her sense of abandonment, and her forced relocation could foster a deep-seated fear of rejection. Consequently, she might seek constant reassurance, crave validation, and interpret Lucas's emotional distance as a sign of impending abandonment. She may become hypervigilant, constantly scanning the environment for signs of danger, always anticipating the next betrayal. Another crucial layer is the way their differing attachment styles will inevitably clash. Lucas's avoidance will likely trigger Clara's anxiety, and her clinginess may further reinforce his desire to withdraw. Furthermore, this dynamic can be further complicated by their individual belief systems. Lucas perhaps carries a belief that he is unworthy of love or happiness. His past actions might have led him to internalize a sense of guilt and self-blame, hindering his ability to open his heart. Conversely, Clara might hold a belief that she is powerless, that her fate is predetermined, and that she is destined to suffer. This can manifest as a lack of agency, a passive acceptance of her circumstances, and a difficulty envisioning a better future. Now, consider how this applies when you observe relationship patterns in your own life. Do you recognize aspects of these attachment styles or limiting beliefs within yourself or your loved ones? How might these patterns be influencing your interactions? What unconscious narratives are you perpetuating? The farm, in this context, becomes a microcosm of the human experience, a laboratory where the interplay of attachment, belief, and trauma plays out in a raw and unfiltered manner. The key to their healing, and potentially your own, lies in understanding these internal landscapes and developing the self-awareness to rewrite the scripts that no longer serve you. In exploring the dynamics between Lucas and Clara, the nature of their interaction necessitates examination through a lens of empathy. It's not about excusing Lucas's initial actions, but rather striving to understand the internal struggles that fueled them. It's about recognizing that his behavior, while potentially harmful, is a symptom of his own deep-seated pain. He is, after all, a man trapped within the confines of his own making, a prisoner of his past. Furthermore, the act of understanding the other person's perspective is a crucial step towards fostering genuine connection. It demands a willingness to set aside judgment, to suspend your own assumptions, and to step into their shoes. However briefly, this is not to suggest that we condone harmful behavior, but instead that we recognize the human element within it. For instance, consider a situation where a loved one continually withdraws emotionally. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, try to approach them with curiosity. Ask yourself, what might they be experiencing internally that causes them to retreat? Building on this, consider Clara's experience. She is faced with a situation where the very foundation of her existence has been shaken. She has been stripped of her agency, her sense of security, and her basic human rights. Yet, within her, a resilience begins to take root. It's the same resilience that allows a seed to sprout in the harshest of environments. Another crucial layer is the way her perspective can shift the narrative. If she is able to see Lucas, not just as a captor, but as a fellow sufferer, this offers a pathway to empathy. Consequently, this is not an easy task. It requires a conscious effort to move beyond our own emotional reactions and to consider the other person's experience. It is about recognizing that everyone is fighting their own battles, however invisible those battles may be. Now, consider how this applies when you are in conflict with someone. Are you willing to look beyond the surface of their actions and delve into the underlying causes? Can you extend empathy, even when it feels difficult? The ability to see the humanity in others, even those who have caused us pain, is a cornerstone of healing and growth. It is the bridge that connects us to one another and to ourselves. The cultivation of genuine communication is the bedrock upon which any healthy relationship is built, and for Lucas and Clara, this becomes a paramount necessity. Vulnerability, the willingness to show oneself authentically, is the key ingredient. Imagine it as a delicate dance, where each partner takes turns, leading and following, sharing their thoughts and feelings with openness and honesty. Building on this, creating a safe space is essential. This isn't just about avoiding harsh words or accusations. It's about establishing a climate of trust, where both individuals feel secure enough to express their true selves without fear of judgment or retaliation. Furthermore, consider the power of active listening. It's not merely hearing the words, but truly seeking to understand the emotional undercurrents. It's about putting aside your own internal dialogue and focusing entirely on the other person, seeking to grasp their perspective, their experience. Another crucial layer is the ability to set and maintain boundaries. This is not about erecting walls to keep others out, but about establishing clear limits to protect your own emotional well-being. For example, if Lucas struggles with expressing his feelings, Clara might gently, but firmly, express her need for more direct communication. Conversely, if Clara feels overwhelmed by Lucas's past, she might need to create space for herself. Consequently, the true art of connection lies in the ability to navigate these complexities with grace and compassion. It necessitates a willingness to embrace discomfort, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to face the truth, however challenging it may be. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself in a difficult conversation. Are you truly listening to the other person, or are you already formulating your response? Are you willing to express your needs and boundaries with clarity and assertiveness? The path towards healing for both Lucas and Clara hinges on their ability to communicate authentically, to create a safe space for vulnerability, and to navigate the inevitable challenges that arise with empathy and understanding. As Lucas and Clara navigate their unique circumstances, the very essence of conscious love begins to emerge, a concept far removed from mere romantic notions. It transcends the superficial, delving into the realm of genuine growth, shared understanding, and mutual respect. It's about recognizing the intrinsic worth of the other, not for what they can provide, but simply for who they are. Furthermore, this kind of love fosters an environment of authentic freedom where each individual is encouraged to evolve, to pursue their passions, and to become the best version of themselves. It isn't about possessiveness or control, but about supporting each other's journeys with unwavering encouragement. Building on this, conscious love necessitates a profound commitment to truth, both within oneself and within the relationship. It requires the courage to confront difficult realities, to acknowledge imperfections, and to communicate openly, even when it's uncomfortable. Conversely, consider the common pitfalls of unhealthy relationships. They often revolve around codependency, where one partner relies on the other for their sense of self-worth, or control, where one partner attempts to dominate and manipulate the other. Another crucial layer is recognizing the difference between infatuation and genuine love. Infatuation is often characterized by intense emotions and idealized perceptions, while conscious love is grounded in a deep understanding of the other person's flaws and vulnerabilities. Consequently, consider the potential for Lucas and Clara to foster a relationship based on these principles. Can Lucas, burdened by his past, learn to release his need for control and embrace vulnerability? Can Clara, marked by trauma, find the strength to trust and believe in her own worth? Now, consider how this applies when you're evaluating your own relationships, whether they be familial, romantic, or platonic. Are you prioritizing growth, freedom, and truth, or are you clinging to patterns of control, codependency, or unrealistic expectations? The story of Lucas and Clara, and indeed, your own story, reminds us that the most transformative love is born not from circumstance, but from conscious choice. The narrative surrounding Lucas and Clara now takes a turn towards the profound implications of self-compassion, a crucial element often overlooked in the pursuit of healing. It's not merely enough to extend empathy to others. The journey to wholeness demands that we turn that same gentle gaze inward. Consider how Lucas, burdened by regret and self-blame, might benefit from practicing self-kindness. Instead of relentlessly judging himself, he could begin to acknowledge his past mistakes with understanding, recognizing that he was acting from a place of pain and limited awareness. Furthermore, the practice of self-compassion involves recognizing our shared humanity. It's the understanding that suffering and imperfection are universal experiences. Building on this, Lucas, by acknowledging his own shortcomings, could also to become more accepting of Clara's vulnerabilities. He would see that her struggles are not a reflection of her character, but rather a testament to her resilience in the face of adversity. Consequently, this shift in perspective could foster a deeper sense of connection between them. Conversely, consider the potential impact on Clara if she has a history of self-criticism. The practice of self-compassion could be transformative. It could help her to challenge negative self-talk, to replace harsh judgments with words of encouragement, and to recognize her own inherent worth. Another crucial layer is the way self-compassion allows us to navigate difficult emotions. It provides a safe space for us to acknowledge our pain without being consumed by it. For example, if Clara experiences a flashback, instead of berating herself for her reaction, she could gently comfort herself, reminding herself that her feelings are valid and that she is not alone. Now, consider how this applies when you are feeling overwhelmed by your own struggles. Are you kind to yourself, or are you your own harshest critic? Do you recognize the shared humanity of your experiences, or do you isolate yourself in shame? The path to healing for both Lucas and Clara, and for all of us, lies in cultivating a deep and abiding sense of self-compassion. It is the bedrock upon which we can build a more resilient, authentic, and fulfilling life. The narrative now shifts toward a deeper examination of forgiveness, a concept often misunderstood, yet essential for the healing journey of both Lucas and Clara. Not about condoning harmful actions or erasing the past. Rather, it's a conscious decision to release the grip of resentment, to liberate oneself from the emotional burden of holding on to anger and bitterness. Furthermore, consider the potential for Lucas to forgive himself. His guilt and remorse likely weigh heavily upon him. Forgiveness, in this context, becomes an act of self-preservation. It's about recognizing that dwelling on past mistakes only perpetuates suffering. Building on this, the act of forgiving, in turn, can create space for compassion. It allows Lucas to see his past actions through a lens of understanding, recognizing that his choices were often rooted in a place of fear, loneliness, or limited awareness. Conversely, Clara's journey toward forgiveness presents a different set of challenges. She may grapple with feelings of betrayal, abandonment, and violation. Another crucial layer is the realization that forgiveness is not a gift given to the perpetrator, but a gift given to oneself. It's a way of reclaiming her power, of refusing to allow her past to define her future. Consequently, consider the potential impact of forgiveness on their relationship. If both Lucas and Clara can embrace this concept, it could transform their dynamic. Lucas might become less guarded, more open to vulnerability. Clara, in turn, could begin to release her resentment, allowing a new level of trust to emerge. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself harboring resentment towards someone, perhaps a family member, a former partner, or even yourself. Are you willing to explore the possibility of forgiveness, not for their sake, but for your own? Are you ready to release the chains of anger and bitterness, allowing yourself to move forward with greater freedom and peace? The story of Lucas and Clara underscores that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It is the key that unlocks the door to healing and allows us to write a new chapter in our lives. The exploration now turns to the transformative power of resilience, a quality that shines brightly within Clara and that Lucas, too, must cultivate to navigate his emotional terrain. It's a capacity to bounce back from adversity, to not only to survive hardship, but also to grow stronger because of it. It's the ability to transform challenges into opportunities for learning and self-discovery. Furthermore, for Clara, resilience is not simply about enduring the trauma she has experienced. It's about actively reclaiming her agency, rebuilding her sense of self-worth, and forging a new narrative for her life. Building on this, picture a sapling battered by a storm. Though bent and bruised, it doesn't break. Instead, it adapts, its roots reaching deeper, its trunk becoming sturdier. Clara's journey mirrors this natural process of adaptation, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human heart. Conversely, Lucas's path to resilience is different. He must learn to dismantle the walls he has built around himself, to confront the vulnerability he has long avoided. Another crucial layer is the way in which the very act of witnessing Clara's resilience can serve as a catalyst for his own transformation. For example, consider a person who has always avoided social interaction. By observing someone else's courage in navigating social situations, they might be inspired to take small, tentative steps toward their own social engagement. Consequently, as they confront their individual challenges, both Clara and Lucas have the potential to cultivate a profound sense of inner strength. They can discover that they are capable of weathering storms that once seemed insurmountable. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself facing a difficult situation. Are you allowing yourself to be defined by the challenges you face? Or are you actively seeking ways to adapt, to learn, and to grow? The story of Lucas and Clara becomes a powerful reminder that resilience is not an inherent trait, but a muscle that can be strengthened through practice, self-compassion, and a willingness to embrace the complexities of life. The exploration of their evolving relationship now ventures into the realm of empathy, a crucial ingredient for fostering profound connection, and a skill often underestimated in its transformative potential. It's not simply about feeling for another person, but actively endeavoring to understand their experience from their unique vantage point. This involves stepping outside of one's own perspective and attempting to perceive the world through the lens of another, acknowledging their emotions and experiences, even if they differ vastly from your own. Furthermore, consider how Lucas, conditioned by years of isolation, might initially struggle with this profound shift in perspective. He has become accustomed to his own internal monologue, his own set of beliefs and experiences. However, the mere presence of Clara, a young woman bearing the scars of a life he can scarcely fathom, presents him with an opportunity. Building on this, the farm itself, once a sanctuary of solitude, becomes a space where empathy must be cultivated. The rustling of leaves, the setting sun, the shared meals all become opportunities for him to observe, to listen, and to begin to grasp the nuances of Clara's emotional landscape. Conversely, the power of empathy isn't a one-way street. Clara, too, can learn to empathize with Lucas, to understand the hidden currents that shape his behavior. Another crucial layer is the realization that empathy isn't about agreement. It's not about excusing harmful actions, but rather about seeking to understand the underlying motivations. For instance, imagine a scenario where Lucas retreats into silence. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, Clara might pause, reflect, and consider what might be driving his withdrawal. She might remember his own history of trauma and loss, and recognize that his silence is not a personal attack, but a manifestation of his own internal struggles. Consequently, the ability to empathize with others is like a muscle that strengthens with use. It's a skill that can be developed through conscious effort, through active listening, and through a willingness to challenge one's own assumptions. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself in conflict with someone. Are you willing to set aside your own perspective, even momentarily, and attempt to see the world through their eyes? The story of Lucas and Clara beautifully illustrates the transformative power of empathy, showing how it can bridge divides, heal wounds, and cultivate a deeper sense of connection in the most unexpected of circumstances. Delving deeper into the narrative, we encounter the subtle yet potent influence of vulnerability, a quality often perceived as a weakness. But in the context of Lucas and Clara's evolving bond, it reveals itself as a source of profound strength. It's the act of courageously exposing one's true self, with all its imperfections and frailties, to another. It's an invitation to be seen, truly seen, without pretense or guardedness. Furthermore, consider how Lucas, who has likely spent years constructing emotional fortresses, must dismantle these defenses to embrace this new reality. He has to gradually learn to peel back the layers of his carefully constructed facade, allowing Clara to glimpse the man beneath the surface. Building on this, however, the act of vulnerability isn't solely about self-disclosure. It's also about creating the space for another person to be vulnerable in return. It's about responding to their honesty with compassion and acceptance, fostering a climate of trust where genuine connection can flourish. Conversely, for Clara, vulnerability presents a different set of challenges. After experiencing betrayal and manipulation, she might understandably be hesitant to open her heart. Another crucial layer is realizing that vulnerability is not about being reckless. It's about making a conscious choice to share her experiences, her fears, and her hopes. For instance, imagine Clara sharing a cherished memory of her mother, a memory that evokes both joy and pain. In that moment, she's not merely recounting an event, she's offering Lucas a glimpse into her soul. Consequently, the farm transforms into a haven where vulnerability is not only accepted but celebrated. The shared meals, the quiet walks, the hushed conversations under the starlit sky all become opportunities for them to practice this delicate art. Now, consider how this applies when you grapple with the fear of intimacy. Are you willing to risk being seen, truly seen, by the people you love? Are you ready to embrace your imperfections and allow yourself to be vulnerable? The story of Lucas and Clara teaches us that vulnerability is not a weakness, but the very foundation upon which genuine connection is built. It's the key that unlocks the door to intimacy, healing, and lasting love. The focus now shifts to the concept of self-acceptance, a crucial element in the complex interplay of emotions and relationships within the narrative. It's a profound embrace of one's true self, flaws and all, an inner peace that stems from accepting the entirety of who you are, not just the aspects you deem palatable. It's not about striving for perfection, which is a fruitless endeavor, but rather cultivating a deep sense of self-worth independent of external validation. Furthermore, consider how Lucas, burdened by his past transgressions, might grapple with the weight of his decisions. The consequences of his actions could cast a long shadow over his present. His ability to move forward, to truly connect with Clara, hinges on his capacity to forgive himself, to acknowledge his humanity, and to understand that mistakes do not define his inherent value. Building on this, the journey towards self-acceptance involves a willingness to confront one's inner critic, that relentless voice of judgment that often whispers negativity and self-doubt. It's about challenging those critical thoughts, replacing them with words of compassion and understanding. Conversely, Clara, having endured profound trauma, may struggle to accept her own inherent worth. She might internalize the message that she is somehow deficient or deserving of her suffering. Another crucial layer is the understanding that it is not a destination, but a continuous practice. It's a daily commitment to treat oneself with the same kindness and understanding that one would offer a beloved friend. For instance, imagine Clara looking in the mirror, not with a critical eye, but with a gaze of gentle acceptance. She might acknowledge her scars, both physical and emotional, not as marks of shame, but as testaments to her resilience. Consequently, self-acceptance fosters a sense of inner peace that allows for genuine connection with others. It allows Lucas and Clara to approach their relationship with greater authenticity and vulnerability. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself engaging in self. Are you speaking to yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you would offer a loved one? Are you willing to embrace your imperfections, recognizing that they are an integral part of what makes you uniquely you? The story of Lucas and Clara is a powerful reminder that self-acceptance is not a luxury, but a fundamental necessity for healing, growth, and the creation of meaningful relationships. The narrative now evolves into a deeper consideration of the cyclical nature of trauma and the vital role of intergenerational healing within the context of Lucas and Clara's developing relationship. It acknowledges that the patterns of pain, the unspoken wounds, often reverberate across generations, influencing behaviors and shaping destinies in ways we may not immediately perceive. It's a recognition that the past isn't simply a collection of isolated events, but a living entity that continues to shape the present. Furthermore, consider how Lucas's own upbringing, his relationship with his parents, and any prior experiences of loss or abandonment might be coloring his interactions with Clara. Could he, unconsciously, be repeating patterns he witnessed or endured in his own childhood? Building on this, what inherited beliefs, what unspoken rules, might be influencing his perception of relationships, his understanding of love, and his capacity for emotional expression? Perhaps he absorbed a notion that vulnerability equals weakness, or that emotional needs are a burden. These deeply ingrained beliefs can shape actions. Conversely, Clara's experience may be heavily influenced by the traumas of her ancestors. Another crucial layer is the understanding that healing isn't simply an individual endeavor. It can involve breaking free from these intergenerational chains. For instance, Think of a family where emotional suppression has been a long-standing norm. The ability of a younger generation to embrace open communication, to articulate their feelings, represents a significant departure from the past. This is an example of healing, a conscious effort to create a different future. Consequently, as Lucas and Clara delve deeper into their relationship, they inadvertently embark on a journey of intergenerational healing. Their interactions, their struggles, and their triumphs have the potential to ripple outwards, impacting not only their own lives, but also the legacies they leave behind. Now, consider how this applies when you contemplate your own family history. What patterns do you recognize? What inherited beliefs might be shaping your relationships and your choices? The story of Lucas and Clara, with its exploration of intergenerational trauma, compels us to acknowledge the profound impact of the past, while also emphasizing the possibility of creating a different future. A future where healing and transformation are not just possibilities, but the very foundation of a renewed life. The narrative deepens, turning now toward the intricate dance of forgiveness and the restoration of trust, a concept that stands as a cornerstone in the healing of Lucas and Clara's relationship. Forgiveness, in this instance, isn't about a simple act of absolution. It's a laborious process of rebuilding, a delicate undertaking that demands patience, consistency, and a willingness to confront the persistent echoes of past transgressions. Furthermore, the establishment of trust, eroded by circumstance and past actions, is a slow, deliberate process. It necessitates more than words. It requires actions that consistently mirror the desired outcome. Building on this, the farm, once a place of confinement, could transform into a sanctuary where trust begins to take root. Think of a fragile seedling, needing careful tending, sunlight, and water to thrive. Each honest conversation, each act of kindness, each shared moment of vulnerability contributes to the growth of that seedling. Conversely, the path to restoring trust is often paved with setbacks. The ghosts of the past, the lingering doubts, the fear of repetition can resurface unexpectedly. Another crucial layer is the understanding that setbacks are not failures, but rather opportunities for renewed commitment, for a redoubling of efforts. Imagine a potter who has to restart after a crack appears in their creation. This doesn't render the entire process useless. Instead, the potter gains a chance to learn, to refine their skill, and to create an even more exquisite piece. Consequently, the road to trust is rarely smooth. It requires both Lucas and Clara to navigate the inevitable storms with resilience and fortitude. Now, consider how this applies when you've experienced a breach of trust in your own relationships. Are you willing to engage in the arduous process of rebuilding? Are you prepared to offer consistent reassurance, to demonstrate through your actions that the past does not dictate the future? The story of Lucas and Clara, with its focus on trust restoration, reminds us that even the deepest wounds can heal, and that the human capacity for forgiveness and reconciliation is a remarkable testament to the enduring power of love. In contemplating the narrative's unfolding, a subtle yet significant shift becomes apparent. The initial landscape, once dominated by isolation and the echoes of past pain, has gradually transformed into something far more nuanced. The very essence of the story has evolved, becoming less about the circumstances that initially bound Lucas and Clara, and more about the potent alchemy of human connection. We've witnessed the slow, deliberate unraveling of protective layers, the gradual shedding of self-imposed limitations. Reflecting on this journey so far, the narrative has served as a mirror, reflecting back to us the intricate dance between vulnerability and strength, the delicate balance between self-preservation and the yearning for genuine intimacy. Like a tapestry, woven with threads of resilience, empathy, and conscious choice, the story reveals how seemingly disparate elements intertwine to create a vibrant whole. It's as if we've been observing a sculptor meticulously chipping away at a block of stone, revealing the hidden form within. As the story continues, the notion of healing expands beyond the confines of individual experience. It becomes a shared endeavor, a collaborative process where each character's growth serves as a catalyst for the others. It's as if two separate streams, once flowing in opposing directions, converge, creating a river that carries them both towards a new horizon. Through the trials and tribulations, a certain clarity has emerged. The capacity for profound connection transcends the boundaries of circumstance. It rests upon the foundational principles of self-awareness, mutual respect, and an unwavering commitment to truth. Drawing these strands together, we see that the central theme is not merely the overcoming of adversity, but the profound, transformative power of embracing the full spectrum of human experience. The narrative's trajectory suggests a culmination, a point of convergence where the lessons learned, the wounds acknowledged, and the bonds forged will yield a deeper understanding of love, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. The threads converge, paving the way for a final, reflective insight. The story of Lucas and Clara, set against the backdrop of a secluded farm, is, at its heart, a testament to the extraordinary potential for transformation that resides within the human spirit. It's a narrative that transcends the specific circumstances of its characters, resonating with a universal truth that even in the face of profound adversity, the capacity for healing, growth, and connection remains eternally within reach. We've witnessed the arduous journey of two individuals, marked by past traumas and present challenges, as they navigate the treacherous terrain of their shared reality. What began as a story of captivity, of a life defined by circumstance, slowly transformed into a narrative of liberation. Lucas, haunted by the shadows of his past, learned to confront his own vulnerabilities, to dismantle the walls he had erected around his heart. Clara, once a victim of circumstance, discovered within herself a resilience she never knew she possessed, a strength that allowed her to rewrite her narrative. Their intertwined destinies became a powerful illustration of how genuine connection, built on a foundation of empathy, vulnerability, and conscious choice, can bloom even in the most unlikely of settings. The central message here is not simply that love can conquer all, but that love, in its truest form, is an active, ongoing process. It demands a willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves, to extend grace and understanding to others, and to embrace the messy, imperfect beauty of the human experience. This is a story about the courage to look inward, to acknowledge our shadows, and to choose a path of healing, even when the road ahead seems daunting. It speaks to the power of self-compassion, the importance of forgiveness, and the transformative potential of embracing vulnerability as a source of strength. The true practice begins now, beyond the confines of this narrative. It's in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the conscious choices we make each day, in the ways we choose to engage with the world and with those we love. It's in the willingness to cultivate empathy, to practice forgiveness, and to embrace our own imperfections with the same tenderness we would offer a cherished friend. The journey of Lucas and Clara serves as a gentle reminder that the capacity for transformation is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding. May their story inspire you to cultivate that same spirit of resilience, to embrace the beauty of human connection, and to walk your own path with an open heart, ready to write your own story of healing, growth, and enjoyment.